Welcome, it's David from the team at Rogue Ops. Rogue Ops is a small team from Wellington, New Zealand who run community events and have begun uploading content for the local SWU scene. This series of videos are from our second table known as the HOTH table from the Wellington PQ on the 24th of January. You can check the channel in the description of this video for a link to our live stream of the event. As this table is our second setup, you will notice some glare. We'll navigate through the commentary of these as best we can. We're still learning a lot and we hope you will throw us a like and subscribe to the Rogue Ops channel to follow the SWU community in New Zealand. It's David from Rogue Ops here, and today we've got the third round of our Swiss from the Wellington Planetary Qualifier. This match is going to be between a Boba 2 Damio yellow and a Kylo 4 Dart Vault. The two players we've got on this video today are Lincoln and Jordan. Lincoln has travelled from Rotorua for the Planetary Qualifier, so it's about a 6-hour drive from Wellington. Lincoln used to be based in Wellington, so he knows a few of the locals, and occasionally will pop down when he's in town for work to play, so he's not unknown to the locals. And Jordan is one of the younger players in the region. He joined us a couple of, probably into set 2, I believe. So he's picked up the Kylo Data Vault for this game. Again, apologies for the glare on this table. So we'll just navigate that as best we can as we go through the match. Both these players, after 2 rounds of Swiss, were 2-0. So yeah, Lincoln playing the Boba 2 yellow deck, which you don't see too often anymore. I used to love playing this deck in the earlier sets. Having lots of units with keywords, especially ambush ones, taking the opponent's units off the board and trying to go a bit wider than them. And I'm sure we'll see the extra damage that the leader puts on when a unit is played with a keyword quite often in this match as well. It will be interesting to see how this one goes, because obviously, at least early game, Kylo and the Data Vault deck aren't known for playing a lot of units out. So we'll see how Lincoln plays into that. And then from Jordan, he'll be hoping to get ramp and get removal and get some good upgrades into his discard pile. I guess one of the cards that's often forgotten these days since Boba 1 got banned, but I'm sure Lincoln is running Boba's armor in there somewhere, which can be a bit of a backbreaker in terms of trying to get the leader off the board once you get to that 6 resource flip. Once again, shout out to Matt Chan and his work on the playmats for the Rogue Ops streams and tables. These arrived, I think it was the week before the Planetary Qualifier, so we kept them hidden away from the locals and busted them out for the first stream. Very cool with the orientation and having the ground and the space sections, of which we're playing ground units in space for this match. So Lincoln getting a Rylith Militia out early. It's a raid 1 on that unit, so it hits for 3. And looks like Jordan's got a Power of the Dark Side, so it's often the play for Kylo, and there it is. So it gets that first unit of Lincoln straight off the board. And Lincoln comes back with another 2-cost unit, again with a keyword on it. Lincoln's drawn a resupply, so with the Boba flip being a little bit later on a 6 resource, I'm sure he'll be considering whether he should resupply and try to accelerate that against the Kylo deck. But at the same time, I'm sure he wants units on the board against the control, early game control of the Kylo. Jordan brings out his own ramp, so there's a Super Laser Technician. And Lincoln swinging into the base to get the first blood of the 2 damage from Nina. Jordan putting the Craving Power in the discard for later use, hopefully. And Lincoln does play the resupply. Jordan got a lot of top end in his hand, but still a couple of resources off playing some of those. I'm sure Lincoln will be trying to stick more units on the board this turn as well. Few resource choices to consider for Lincoln's hand from the looks. We saw there a couple of items in a row. The Han Solo unit from Spark of the Rebellion, great card in the Boba deck because it comes out, ambushes, doesn't take any damage back, and gets that extra damage from the Boba leader. Potentially, Jordan putting the Super Laser Tech into Mina for the 2 damage. And it's going to take him up to 6 resources, so he has managed to get that little bit of acceleration on his side of the board as well. And Lincoln wanting to have a look at the control planet's hand to see which events are going to cause him problem. A few events in there to choose from. And probably wisely gets rid of one of the Super Laser Blasts, given that he'll want to stick units on the board and not probably play into that top end. And Jordan replies with the Anakin and -3/-3 to clear the board there. He's only spent one of his resources so far this turn on that jam though, so I'm sure he'll have a couple of unit options in his hand, and he flips his Boba. Jordan claims, which is going to give... Oh, sorry, Lincoln's still... He's got the Jar Jar in the row for the plot, so it's going to give +2/+2 to his leader. So playing that out on the plot for 2, giving Boba +2/+2. I believe Jordan did play. With 3 resources up, and there's Boba's armor, so there is a pretty big threat now if Jordan can't remove that one. So it's the +2/+2 that's going to be hitting for 10 now, and because Jordan's claimed that'll go straight to base. Well, he might take out the Anakin actually. We'll see what Lincoln decides to do here. And he's going to put the 10 to the base. So quite a big swing there. I think he's going to put another 2 damage. Sorry, it is 8, not 10. My maths not be mathing this afternoon. So Jordan with the initiative and the Anakin on the board. It's not going to be big enough to remove the Boba with the Boba's armor ability of negating a couple of damage. No glory would be a bit of a waste on the Jar Jar, so let's see what else Jordan had in his hand there, but it looks like probably the slightly out of aspect Vigilance is probably the only play he might have this turn. If he doesn't want to waste the no glory on a Jar Jar. A few resources still with playing the Annihilator. Could also use the Kylo ability to siphon out a card if he wanted to see if he got another option. And he is going to play the Vigilance with the heal and the mill. Let's hit a Hot Shot Blaster, so, and a U-Wing. Back to Lincoln, so we'll see if... Oh. And he's got the Han Solo unit, so that's enough to kill the Anakin. Jordan's forgot that +1, so yep, that +1 from the Boba leader being out for the any units with a keyword, so that hits for 7 and takes no damage back with the first strike from Han's unit. That forces Jordan to claim, so there's going to be some free swings into base here, so another 8 damage. Oops, and I'll get up to speed with the base health on the Boba. 8 resources for Jordan now, so he'll be starting to consider his Kylo flip given what's on the board on the other side, I'm sure. He'll also use the No Glory to get rid of the Han if he needed to. Get through his discard. Is going to bring out the Kylo Sentinel with the Craving Power, so that's 7 damage. That would be enough to kill the Han. Yep, that removes the Han off the board and puts a Sentinel in front of Lincoln to deal with, so that will be seven, I believe. Lincoln brings out the Fennec with the ambush and is counting through the discard. So in this case, the mill has actually helped Lincoln there with the extra cards in the discard. So that was enough to remove the Kylo leader. So yeah, Jordan might be regretting that decision to mill after that. And get another 8 to base. So I'll bring up the Boba's armor. It's an often forgotten card. Very cool card. Hasn't really been seen much since the earlier sets, but when attached to Boba, it prevents 2 damage, so it makes them very hard to get off the board if you try to remove them with units. And Jordan has scooped that game, so obviously nothing to remove that leader unit early enough in the turn. So that will send us to game 2. We will have a quick word from our sponsor.
Mats, a special offering from Rogop's very own Matt Chan. The clever design means you play your space units in space and your ground units on the ground. Force and initiative tokens go in the center with the orientation perfect for streaming. Wow. The best part? You only need 1 mat for 2 players. That's right, 2 players, 1 mat. Mats from Mats by Matt, exclusive to Rogops.
And we'll pick back up the action, and while they're doing the sideboarding, we'll have a quick look at the deck. So we've got Lincoln's deck, so he's on a 50 card deck, but got a lot of 2-ofs. So obviously kind of structured his deck to have a few tools into different matchups. So there's a few Sentinels in there with the Bright Hope for space and the Captain Typho. It's got the Eager Escort to ambush, and same with the Fireball to deal with space threats. And also the Blue Leader is another one with a keyword on it. He does have a couple of plot cards in there as well with the Unveiled Might and the Jar Jar. So that's, and interestingly, he's got an out of aspect Overwhelming Barrage snuck in there. Bane of most heroism players' existence. So we'll see if that comes into play at all. And then we'll have a quick look at Jordan's Kylo deck. I'm sure it's similar, a little bit different to the one we saw in the previous match with Ryan Dave. So again, he's got an emergency power, much more kind of 3-ofs. The upgrades like Condemned and Craving Power to help with the Kylo flip. Even Lightsaber and good old Legal Authority. So yeah, quite still trying to use that early removal and try to get to that late game, those late game units. It's got the timelies in there for Vader and Pelt's Return and a few other bits and pieces to get into later. But it will be interesting to see if he can turn the corner against a deck like Lincoln's, which is kind of structured to be a bit faster than his. Just setting up for the second game now. Also a big thanks to the team, especially Fraser at Goblin Games, who was the tournament organizer for the PQ. He did a great job. If you watch the live stream, you'll see him in action on there. And if you're enjoying this coverage and enjoying the videos and the content that we're putting out, please like and subscribe and engage with the videos with comments and give us any feedback. We're still learning and trying to just get more coverage for SWU in New Zealand, and just make it a bit exciting for locals to know that they're getting eyeballs on some of the decks. Obviously, the Boba 2 that we've got on stream today is 2-0 so far and is pretty much an off-meta deck. It definitely hasn't been seen for a while. So if you like having a look at a smaller country's meta and the types of decks that are being constructed down here, then definitely follow the channel. Hey, back into it. Looks like Jordan plays the Pershing, so trying to get a draw engine underway this time to give him a few more options, hopefully. I'm sure Lincoln won't want that to stick around too much. We'll get to that 5 draw phase. So he brings out the Ryloth Militia as per the first game. Great little 2-drop with the Boba deck because it can get that buff and hit for 4. Jordan using the Kylo's ability to put the even lightsaber in the discard pile. See if Lincoln does play a unit with a keyword, and we'll use the buff. So that Ryloth will do 4 damage this turn. It potentially now brings a threat into play if Jordan puts the 1 damage on the Pershing, so the Ryloth could now take Pershing off the board if Lincoln doesn't want that draw engine to hang around. The Rogue Operative is another great card from the first set that you don't see very often anymore, but lots of keywords on there with the Saboteur and Raid 2. So that does hit for 4 without the Boba buff as well. No ramp yet either for Jordan, which is a Kylo player we want to see. So there's a Craving Power going to the row, cycling a card. And we'll see if Lincoln's got another unit to bring out for that Boba buff in this turn as well. He's going to swing in for the 3. It's first blood this game on Jordan's base. And Obi-Wan coming out again with a keyword, so he'll be using Boba's action to buff the Rogue Operative, and that'll now hit for 5. So that 1 extra damage does kind of sneak up on you, not just into some units that might be slightly out of range, but also on the base damage. something that Jordan definitely won't be wanting to see is a board that big on the other side this early in the game. So see if he's drawn any answers this turn. There's a new glory. Just going to remove the rogue operative from this turn. Does only take 1 unit off the board, and Lincoln's still got all his resources available. So he swings in for the 3 damage from the Ryloth. And after Jordan spending all his resources on the No Glory, is claiming. Lincoln brings out the blue leader, so it's gonna send it straight to the ground for the 5 resources with the 2 XP. Jordan finding out the type tokens from, and gives a +1 from the Boba ability, so there's that extra damage again coming into play. So Lincoln's still got the 3 units on the board even after that, and heading into the flip turn. So once again, yeah, Jordan will be needing to. I don't think he'll have an answer for that many units on 6 resources, especially with the amount of health they have. Even an Anakin isn't going to be enough to remove more than the Ryloth at this stage. So yeah, even with the double 3, it would only be able to remove 1 unit. Oh, Sly More. So this is a great card. This it's going to reduce that damage that he can take this turn on his base. So the phase it's played, units get -2 when attacking the base. So that will slow Lincoln down a little bit. But it is the Boba flip turn as well. Jordan did have a resupply in his hand, so obviously kind of trying to make a decision around whether to play units or remove all versus trying to ramp into some of those later cards. So this time we've got the Boba flip with the Unveiled Might being plotted out. Again, it's a nice upgrade, +2, +3. So Boba, even without his armor in this match so far, is a big boy. That's a lot of damage on deck, so we're getting in 6 from the blue leader. Just doing maths, I think, to see how much damage he's got, but there is still the -2 for this phase across everything. Oh, and Lincoln does have the Boba's armor as well, so that leader is stacked. So now he's with Jordan claiming he's going to send everything into base. Doing maths on a -2. So only 4 short is a massive turn for Lincoln there. And I think Jordan, even if he has a super laser blast, it's only on 7 resources, so not ramping is going to probably spell doom here, I would say. Can flip the Kylo leader, put a sentinel in the way. The -2 from the Slime War doesn't apply anymore, it's just the phase that it's played. We'll see what Jordan's thinking here. It's a lot of damage on board for Lincoln, so the leader does come out, so he is getting the Craven Power, much like the last game. He's only leaving with 2 resources, so he's going to be able to remove a unit and get the Sentinel in the way. Of the units there, yep, the blue leader was probably the one. But even with that, Lincoln has enough damage from the bow, but with the armor and the Unveiled Might to kill Kylo, get the Sentinel out the way, and still has lethal on board. And Sly, more being a 2/6, won't be able to kill any of those other two. And Lincoln's got all his resources up as well, so not seeing Jordan getting out of this one. Jordan using the Subuck hand token from Rogue Ops from our last community event. Great little token. A lot of thought going into this turn, but I'm pretty sure once Lincoln sees the line, he'll be okay. Yep, so that's that, and I think Jordan's already realised. Yep, and that's the end of the game. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back shortly with another game from the Swiss at the Wellington PQ, hosted by Goblin Games in New Zealand. Okay, so this is round 5 of our Swiss at the Wellington Planetary Qualifier. This is the hot deck that everyone's interested in, the Lama Su ECL against Daredevil Anakin. Johnny is our Lama Su pilot. He's a local Wellington lad who has been noticed at a previous event for his Lama Su ECL deck. He's 3-0-1. So we're going to get into the action now. Our Anakin pilot has actually come down from Auckland for the day. So that's Kyle. He had a first round bye and then won a couple in a row and then dropped the game. So these two are facing off in the 5th round of Swiss. Our Lama Su player starts with Dr. Pershing to help that draw engine. Similar to a Kylo deck, he really wants to find upgrades and the right cards for what he wants to do with Lama Su. And Sabine comes out on the Anakin side. See there in Johnny's hand, he's already got a couple of upgrades floating around. And an X-Wolves, which is handy. You can suit one of those up with an upgrade or two, as well as having a shield on it, then that can cause problems. This turn he brings out the Condemned on the Sabine. And Johnny has the answer with the Utterum Constables. Very handy card in any red deck at the moment. And we've got 2 to base going to do the accelerated damage. And putting that into Johnny's base. Oh, sorry, no, you used it to kill the Pershing. Resource 4. Yeah, using the Anakin ability to trade up is kind of par for the course with that deck, and being able to remove things from the other side of the board. So we'll see if the shielded X-Wolves help. He's going to use the beam to pop the shield and kill the wolves. Johnny's reasonably new to our local scene, but has done well with his Lama Su deck at a couple of events now. And again, using the Anakin ability to trade up. The Sham without the resource advantage to ramp. Yep, having a 5/4 with the Anakin ability just definitely is overkill for anything that Johnny's probably going to play out this turn. Got another set of the X-Wolves out. And he's going to do the Sabine trick again. Let's leave Johnny short of a play this turn. Kyle brings out the Karis. And a Gungan Warrior. It's fun seeing some of the heroes and cards come out with the Gungan Warrior with the shield and the restore. And that 5 to base. So Johnny obviously on an ECL deck with 25 health and the mountain to climb with the 33 health Data Vault deck. You can see a Vader in Johnny's hand though. That will definitely help stabilize the board a bit. We've got the fin rail coming out with an upgrade on it. And apologies for the glare that we've got on our second table. So Johnny letting Kyle know what upgrades he's got left. So yeah, the fin rail lets you play an upgrade cheaper, and also does the -2/-2 that Johnny called in that play. Kyle with Karis ready and no resources spent yet, so again he's going to trade up 5 damage and bring out a ready spy. Only bringing out Lama Su. Now Kyle needs to choose whether he sends that spy damage into the fin rail. Send it into Lama Su instead. I'm just deciding it. Carl still has not yet to spend one of his 6 resources. I've got 3 going into the Data Vault. Which does break the threshold for Anakin to get another damage on his leader. First comes out the Bounty Hunter's Quarry, which again is a pretty popular card in the Anakin deck because of the ability to trade up and then the value of getting another unit out. So you're only just understanding what the bounty action does and what Kyle can then bring out off of that card. Let's see, blue leader. Couple of Cobb vents in there. Bring out that and pay the 2 extra. plays out the Cassian for 3. Moving to the 7th resource, you can see Johnny Lewis got a Mandalorian's armor upgrade as well as another Persian. But obviously Kyle has quite a big presence on the board at the moment and a bit of damage with the Sham hanging around and also the Anakin leader out. Still just working through what he's going to do this turn. And he's going to ECL in the Vader off this turn. He's going to pop the Anakin and then kill the Sham. So that's helped markedly this turn with the amount of damage that Kyle had on the other side of the board. Now Kyle having to look through his. Can't see what's in his hand, he's off screen, so I can't see. We know he had a Sabine in his hand before from the disclose, but other than that, we'll have to see if he's got a... Okay, so he's run the Cassian into the Vader, doing 3 damage to the Vader and murdering the Cassian. And the Mandalorian's armor going into the Vader. It's always cool seeing different upgrades that you don't see very often. And then Kyle does run the Mace Windu from set 1 in his Anakin list, so we can have a look at those in between games. But that has become popular with the rise of spies and things like that, so was enough to come in and get the Vader off the board. When he played the Power of the Dark Side to get rid of the Mace Windu. South correct. Anymore. So 12 and 12. Another Gungan warrior out and Obi-Wan. Yeah, it looks like we have a scoop. So that was Donnie scooping that game. So Kyle picks up game 1. We will have a quick look at the list. So we'll start with Johnny's. So this is Johnny's Lama Su list. So you can see there is a stack of upgrades in there. Really reliant on those early players like the X-Wolves that he tried to get out with the Sabine, murdering those a couple of times. And Ogdo Bogdo, because he can put a damage on from the Lama Su ability to play out upgrades. So similar to kind of like Han 2, getting Ogdo out with damage on as early as possible, and then being able to swing quite big early is a good play. But 2 drops, there's a few early plays in there. Obviously, like we saw in the last game, Pershing is quite important to be able to kind of cycle and choose different cards. And we'll have a quick look at Kyle's Anakin list. So yeah, data vaults, we've got the big 60 cards in there. A few one-offs running around and lots of one-offs in his sideboard. He's running 2 Mace Windus actually in his list, so see if those come into play in game 2. Get the overlay sorted out. Yeah, shout out to Tim from Australia for his overlay. We use it all the time for our live events, and it's great to have someone on this side of the world that is producing things like this for the community. So shout out to Tim and the SWU overlays. The dog going that's in the background, but we'll get there. We're close to the start, but they're still doing the sideboard, so we'll just wait for these two to take their time and maybe have another look at Kyle's list in a bit more detail. So yeah, the Gungan Warriors, cool to see those. Handy little unit with the restore and the shield. There's been a couple of the Yukazudas in there as well, which can swing pretty hard if they're left alone. And as we saw in the last game, Sham with 5 damage on him, if left to his own devices, can be a bit of a problem, especially with the Anakin ability to kind of hit for 7 if needed. We didn't see any General's Blades come out in that first game. There's 3 of those in the stack. And we did see a lot of the bottom end come out, so you see that Outer Rim Constables, there's only 3 of those in a 60 card deck to make sure he sees them when needed. Be interesting to see if he brings in the Aether Sprite as well, given the upgrade deck. But yeah, they're just cutting the decks now, so we'll get back into the action. Again, we can see a number of upgrades in Johnny's hand, as well as a Power of the Dark Side hiding in there, so I'm sure as a blue-green player he'll hold on to that for turn 2 if he can. Yeah, so Kyle came down from Auckland. It's about a 9-hour drive, but about an hour flight, so he flew down in the morning and is flying back after the event in the same day, so just a day trip. And he's our only player down from the Upper North Island. We had a few people come up from the South Island, and Lincoln, who we saw earlier from Rotorua, which is about halfway between Wellington and Auckland. So having a quick chat to Kyle before the event started. He's also playing in the Auckland PQ as well, so came down to Wellington to see how he go here, and has started out pretty well with his 3-1. So resourcing the colour in there for later. Oh. No, here's Porter Mulligan. So he was happy as he'd like with his first hand. It's always an interesting one with the 60 card Data Vault decks. Like, obviously it has a lot of tools, but also can get a bit messy in terms of starting hands and mulligans and the risk of mulliganing into something worse. So we'll see how Kyle goes here. While we're waiting for that, just another shout out, I guess, for the Goblin Games team who are running the PQ in Wellington. Fraser did an amazing job. If you've had a chance to have a look at the live stream video, you'll see some of the quizzes that he ran and the random prizing that we gave, and it was a great set of prize stacks with a couple of the droid convention packs going out to people, and the odd showcase. So yeah, it was a great way to kind of pump up the Wellington community for our first PQ that we've had in a while. So we can see a hot shot going into the row pretty quickly. Still got that Sabine. I'm sure he'll hold on to that given the X-Wolves and gets rid of the open fire. So we've got Sabine coming out in the Zam. It's always good to see some of the new and different cards coming out in the off-meta decks. And you can see having a unit that's got grit and she's upgraded on a 1/5 body is useful with the way that the Lama Su action works there. And at Obi-Wan, the Sentinel comes out to slow that down. So far, Kyle's had some pretty good answers to everything that Johnny's been wanting to do in the first game. He plays as part of the dark side, so Kyle removes the Sabine and keeps the Sentinel in play. It'll be interesting to see if Johnny will run into the Sentinel and use the grip, but decides to pass. Sorry. One thing that we'll have to remember is that the OB loses that Sentinel. I know in the previous tournament that was something that affected Johnny in the previous tournament, but yeah, the Sentinel comes off. But he uses the trade up of the Anakin's ability to swing the 5 damage that's needed to take Zam off the board. So again, Kyle just having the answers, especially with the Anakin ability on that turn to remove Johnny's plays. Oh, Johnny had a dead turn that turn. So double 2 drops for Kyle. I guess much like with a Data Vault deck, if you're running even a 50 card deck that relies on heavy amounts of upgrades and events, then if you don't have a unit to pop those upgrades on, then you can get into a bit of trouble unit wise, and Anakin being quite a strong value deck obviously is flooding the board now. It's going to make it even harder for Johnny to find an answer. Now we've got the blue leader going to ground for the 5/5. So again, that represents a whole lot of damage with the Anakin ability, so even if Johnny does bring out an upgraded unit, he's going to struggle to stick anything on the board. We're also up to 6 resources now, so I think that would 5, 7, 10, 13. So the ECL Vader comes out again. Let's see what choices Johnny makes for taking off the board this time. Yep, so he takes off the one with the most damage. Yep, he tried to attack the Sabine with the ambush but can't because of the extra aspects on board. And he's going to remove Gungi and the blue leader off the board. So I think Kyle would have, without that Vader, would have just about had lethal that turn with the Anakin flip coming as well. That will be really interesting to see if Johnny's got a way. I don't think there's a way that he'll be able to protect the Vader maybe. I'll still all his resources up and the Anakin flip still to come. I was thinking through the sequencing that he wants for the team. Other than the Vader that Johnny played, I'm not sure there's any threats unit-wise. Does look like he's holding a Rivals 4, so that will definitely help next turn with the Anakin. Send the Obi-Wan with the Anakin buff into the Vader. And Johnny does play out the Nimble Prowess to exhaust and does put 1 damage on there, so it's still only got 1 health left on the Vader, but it does exhaust the Sabine, and out comes Anakin. Johnny flips his leader in kind, but Kyle does have all his resources still up. Looking to smuggle. You know, he did put a hot shot down there. Anakin does have Overwhelm as well, so whether he's thinking about running over the Vader or taking out the Lama Su. Vader put that Nimble Prowess on, it does do 6 damage back though. Because they did run the first game relatively quickly, Kyle's just taking his time to work through everything. And I've seen 5 damage from Anakin into Lama Su, taking 3 back. Only with 2 units, but both heavily damaged. See if he's got any upgrade shenanigans he can pull off in this turn. He'll be deciding whether he should claim or not. With Kyle and his 6 resources up though, who knows what could come out. He could have another blue leader to send back down into ground to finish off the Lama Su. And his resource row, he could have a Cassian to smuggle out for another 3 damage. So Johnny sends 3 into the base, and that will mean that Kyle now can decide how to answer the 2 units that Johnny has on the board. Oh, he's got the Wrecker, so he's checking his resources to make sure which one to throw away. For the 5 damage. So now he's got a choice to make around so he takes out the Vader. Kyle readying everything a bit prematurely there, so now it's Johnny on initiative. That we can then a power the dark side. the 3 units and the Sabine sitting there, Kyle's pretty well insulated against the power of the dark side. And drop a Condemn to mitigate some of the damage, but having Wrecker and Anakin out, there's a lot of damage to try and hold back. Freddie, if Johnny wants to take out the Sabine, but then obviously Kyle can counterplay by bringing out another unit to insulate any power of the dark side shenanigans. I think either way, it's only going to be 3 damage from the Lama Su before it gets murdered by something. So Johnny sends 3 into Kyle's base. And brings out another nimble prowess. Both Anakin and Rick are having overwhelm as well, so so Kyle sending the overwhelm damage into the Lama Su and the base, and then the return 4 damage was enough to take out Anakin. So now Johnny's base is on 12 damage as well. The dark side comes out. And now Kyle's gonna condemned on the Wrecker, so that kind of mitigates that damage quite a bit. For whether it would have been more useful to run the Wrecker over the Lama Su. Maybe. Keep the Anakin out. Power the dark side and the Condemned definitely helping Johnny to come back into the game a little bit. Johnny's saying that he's lost every game on camera. I'm sure at future events he probably won't be in a hurry to jump on stream again, but we'll twist his arm if he comes up with a new deck or runs the Lama Su with an upgraded package. And now we've seen one of the General's Blades from Kyle. And he's going to ride by the Rivals 4 on the Gunji. Gungan Warrior coming out. And sends the one damage into the base. I mean, even seeing the damage and making Johnny disclose gives you some information about the hand. And we do know he's running 3 outer rim constables, so whether Kyle manages to pick one of those up to remove Condemned as well. So the Fenrir and the Electro Staff. I haven't seen that one for a while. So, early upgrade from Spark of Rebellion, and then out comes Queen Amidala with the 2 spies, and a Karis as well. Another one to base. Not disclosing cards, which technically Carl should be forcing him to do. But Carl's still got quite a big board with the spies and the queen out. Deciding what to play. Got the low board in there, which is a sentinel, which will slow down some damage as well. Looks like a craving power and X-Wolves in hand. Both Johnny and Kyle kind of taking their times with the turn, being this late in Swiss and being in the positions that they are, with Johnny with the 3 wins and a draw and Kyle with the 3 wins, 1 loss. The Craving Power does come in, and the damage going on, Fenrir with the grit obviously buffs the power of that. So it does kill the Wrecker. Which is probably... Ooh. Change sides. Or choose sides. So it's a great card, I love that card. So that has swapped the spy for Johnny's big stacked upgraded unit. I think that's probably swung the game. So that sends 9 to base. Oh, and Johnny has scooped to that point. So well played by Kyle, that choose sides, kind of thwarting all the mitigation that Johnny was throwing out there. So that sends Kyle to 4 wins, 1 loss, which I think should secure him a top 8 spot, but we'll see how some of the other results go. So we'll be back shortly with another round, or we'll head straight into the top cut. We're now heading into the top cut of the Wellington Planetary Qualifier, hosted by Goblin Games in Wellington. We've got our friend Johnny on Lama Su ECL, who has made it through to the semi-final against Phil on Han 1 Yellow. So we'll crack into that. We did have an issue with our recorded table, so we don't have the quarter-final action. But we will crack into the semi-final and see how the Han one goes into the Lama Su. Oh. So Johnny we've seen a couple of times either on stream or on the recorded table by now, so you can have a look at his deck, and we'll bring up the deck list in between round matches as well. Phil, I'm not sure if he's been on stream or not, but Phil is an old stalwart of the local Wellington SWU scene. He has been a finalist in a couple of PQs, shot over to Galactics last year, played a lot of Han 1, funnily enough, but kind of was off it after the DJ suspension. I guess the swing with the latest Han deck with the Faith and Friends and the Sanctionist Shuttles and all those new focus areas for the Han 1 deck has kind of brought it back into favour. So Phil's been on that and had a pretty good run today. Lost to Kyle's at Anakin that you would have seen earlier. But ID'd into the top 8 and then won the semi-final. Oh, sorry, the quarterfinal, and here we are in the semi. So he's into it. And yeah, Johnny having a pretty good run on the Lama Su again. I think he drew one and dropped a game, but again managed to play his way through the quarterfinal into the semi here with Phil. So we've got a Harlequin Enforcer. It'll be interesting to see how Lama Su fares against a double cunning deck. Naturally, there's a lot of bounce and upgrade removal and things like that. But Johnny, his deck obviously relies on that heavily with things like the grit, like he's just played there, and the upgrade buffs to kind of try and get damage through at a high rate. So also too, I think Phil's list is quite heavy on space as well, and I know Johnny doesn't play a lot of space, so he'll be relying on removal and kind of things like condemn to hopefully deal with the space threat. But Phil's also played a lot of green and blue villainy decks in his time as well, with a few of the local players running things like Kira for a number of years now, so we'll see. So we've got 4 to base and a stolen AT Hauler comes out. So yeah, the Hauler obviously has a downside, but it is a 4/5 in space, so here comes the condemn. So Johnny will be relying a lot on those kind of cards to handle Phil's space. So we'll see a big Falcon going into Phil's hand. The other thing that Johnny will definitely be relying on for a kill anything going on in space will be trying to get to the Vader ECL, and here comes the Sanctioner's Shuttle, which yeah has made a big return in this set with things like Double Yellow Han and some of the Sabe decks, and obviously things like Vader and Han 4. The Sanctional Shuttle, just a great way to kind of brick a turn or take a threat off the board, especially things like piloted or upgraded units like we saw there. And Phil going to send Phil's quite a fast player as well, so there won't be any mucking around in terms of things. He's also really great at keeping an eye on the Han resourcing shenanigans, so you can see his 2 sub-arc hand tokens there from the Rogue Ops team, so he uses those to track what's going on in terms of his resourcing and how many Han resources he's cheated out. Johnny trying to get some card draw, and Phil just sending space damage into Johnny's base. Phil will be happy to kind of see a 25 health base across from him as well. Sort of a 2 into base from Phil. Johnny disclosing. Has reduced the damage from the Hauler down to nothing. And Phil recording what he saw from the hand. I'm going to use the Han action to place an extra resource into the row. Flip out Han. So 4 into base. So he's got a tick in the row. I can't see the card. And that's a pretty one from Galactics, whatever that was. cards are deeper. Yeah, the glaive's got worse as the day's gone on, unfortunately, on this table, but we'll work through it and keep an eye on those cards. I think Phil's also probably quadruple sleeved or something crazy, so that won't be helping the reflection and the glare from the lighting above. Quite a strong board presence from Phil now, and sorry, get the score updated with the 16 damage on Johnny's base. Another condemn comes down to put on the Han. Not sure if that was the right one. Oh yeah, so it is serialized deeper, that's why it's looking so pretty in the lights. I mean, Han's still going to be able to attack it for his resource. I think that will be the end of game 1. Oh, it's got the Falcon. Again, it's another pretty Galactics card that I pulled. So that is game 1. So that was a rapid rate of knots for that one from Phil. Set the overlay and we'll have a quick look at the list. So we have Phil's double yellow list. So yeah, smuggling out, or paying out deeper earlier than Johnny thought it would come out. But then I guess that is the benefit of the Han deck. It does have a strong top end, and the middle of the game with the space units is going to probably cause Johnny a bit of problem with things like the fast Falcon and the hauler in there. It's got the 3 cunnings and the container bouncers as well, so plenty of answers with things like a waylay and a spare the target for any upgraded tall units that Johnny brings out. So just working through his list there, as we can see. Runs the 3 ticks in his list. Again, that's probably lessons learned from playing a lot of blue-green villainy in his time, having that swarm of ticks in his deck list so that he can smuggle out whatever answers he may need to try and get through some of the villainy shenanigans or board clears and barrages and things like that. So yeah, pretty weighted in the space arena, but with his bigger top end all being ground based on the back of the Han flip. That's Phil's list, and if we bring up Johnny's list again, just while they're getting set up, again, trying to get to those Vaders and get some of that removal going. But Phil was able to go pretty wide and get ahead of some of that. Even with the condemns coming out, he was still just able to keep up with the board and being focused on kind of hampering Phil's damage. Also meant that Johnny wasn't getting out much on his side of the board, unfortunately, in that first game. So we will see if Johnny's got an answer in game 2. I think, yeah, like I said, I think Phil, for the people that you wanted to run into, Phil's double yellow Han would not probably be it as a blue-green villainy upgrade deck. He's played many moons into Cura green decks with a couple of other locals here, and Phil making top cuts a lot in showdowns and other events and things like that. Also, he's been keeping an eye on the meta for sure with the Kylo data vaults, and there's a couple of them at this tournament as well. So again, Han double yellow being a good choice into this, and probably more importantly, just the comfort zone that Phil has with the hero and leader, also the leader and base combination. So they're shuffling out now. we'll just give another shout out to the Rogue Ops channel. Obviously still relatively young, but very passionate about Star Wars Unlimited, especially in New Zealand. So if you can, give us a like and comment on our videos, and hopefully a subscription even to the channel, just for our upcoming content and events that we'll keep trying to cover as much as we can of in New Zealand. That would be awesome. We're really enjoying it. It's obviously a hard balance for like running channels and streaming events while also wanting to play, but yeah, Matt's been doing a phenomenal job with the things like the mats and the graphics and the content behind the scenes, and we're getting some really good feedback around the place over the type of coverage that we're doing in terms of the presentation and the layout and the clarity. So yeah, we'll keep trying our best, and we're still learning a lot. But yeah, it's awesome to see some of the decks getting noticed from our little corner of the world, and the discussions that are happening off the back of some of the coverage that we're doing. So yeah, we'll keep that up as long as we can, and really interested in what rotation brings to the format, and hopefully we can pick up a few new players around the place with the first 3 sets dropping off, and a bit of excitement around set 7 coming out. So see, oh, Phil's got Confiscate in there as well, so some more upgrade hate for Johnny to have to deal with. Let's see, Phil's sitting on a hauler and a shuttle. It's going to use the Han ability, mark that resource, and then bring out the Fast Falcon. So yeah, Phil managed to get hold of a couple of Galactic Fast Falcons, which he's very happy with. It's a great looking card, even though we can't see it with that clear. So first blood on Johnny's base with the 3 damage from the Falcon. Phil sorting out his hard resourcing, leaving the Falcon in play. I don't think Johnny's seen the shenanigans with the hand resourcing, playing for the Falcon without having to tap a resource, so let's just let that one. Alright, so Johnny's entrenched the Fast Falcon. Obviously not ideal because Phil can bounce it back, so he brings out a hauler beside it, and Johnny's going to use the Pershing to draw a card. Phil will claim and get some damage in with the hauler, I'm sure. So bouncer in there, so he's holding that. Into 4 resources. Phil bouncing the Falcon back to hand. So he bounces that to get rid of the entrenched, and plays 3 to bring it back again. Johnny's got another entrenched in hand, but again, every time that he plays an upgrade to kind of disable Phil is a turn that he doesn't get something out on his side of the board. And with an ECL base, you kind of need that damage going in on the other side of the fence, not just kind of mitigating it as we go. So Phil claims, and the little Lobot, the 0-4 Sentinel, comes out with the grit. So we haven't seen that this game yet, but if Johnny can get some upgrades onto there, can be a tough time to get through. Like a surprise strike and a cunning on Phil's hand, so I think he might have some answers anyway. And there's the surprise strike coming in for 6, so very quickly we're 12 damage into the ECL base. To work through what it's going to power up Dark Side. It presents an interesting decision for Phil because he wouldn't want to give the hauler over, so he does destroy the Falcon instead. yeah, with Johnny's lack of space, he doesn't really want to give him a space out as well. Yeah, it's the hard flip turn. And we've got a Kira in hand, so I'm sure they'll probably murder the Sentinel and then generate a resource to play the Kira. Throwing some cards around. There we go. So he takes 1 damage back, gets the resource. I think we can expect that Kira to come in next to have a look at what Johnny's got in his hand. Johnny claims. Phil gets to have a peek. So 2 condemns, a legal authority, clone commando, sentinel, and a Vader. So he's going to make Vader the target of that, which is a very wise move given the ECL hasn't been used. We know what that unit can do with the ECL. I'm sure that would have hurt Johnny's feelings a lot, seeing that now costs 3 extra. If you have to claim it early, because I'm guessing he wanted to see that out to clear those units. So Phil's base says the 1 that the Lobot swung in last turn against the 12 on Johnny's base. Matt is also responsible for the tokens that we produce for the rogue events. So the Sabak hand tokens were our last promotional tokens for our last event. So those are community run events that we host in combination with one of the local stores, and we kind of move them around and try and get as many local players as we can to those, just as a way to kind of keep growing and keep the wider community together. We've got 4 stores in the Wellington region that different players frequent, so that's a way for us to bring, the roughly 30 odd players that we have as a pretty core base around the region together regularly, even if there's not a PQ or that type of thing. So we try to make them fun and work with the stores on prize support, and Matt's done a phenomenal job of everyone having a token for the first 3 events, and we've got our 4th coming up in March, so keep an eye out for that. We'll definitely want to live stream that one post rotation, because that hopefully will be quite early in the set as well. So again, you might see some weird and wonderful lists coming out of New Zealand. Got the 15 damage now in. What was that? Spark of Rebellion. So I was going to have another look and decide if there's anything more useful to get rid of. Fortunately for Johnny, he doesn't really have any upgrades to go on his side of the board to do anything with Lama Su or like that. So Phil's just going to remove the condemns to make sure that he can't mutate any of the attacks and from anywhere else after he put one on the harm. I was just working through what's going to be the best play now, whether to probably swing with the hand and on it. So it's Johnny's turn. So he takes a card draw. Oof, pulls an OB off the top. But again, unfortunately, he doesn't have big enough units on the board to do enough with the OB to clear enough units, I don't think. I mean, he can get rid of the Han. But Phil's kind of already played this turn out, so swings with the Lama Su for 3 to base. And suits up Lama Su with an upgrade. So he entrenches the Lama Su. Trying to read upside down, which great that one was. So he's going to use the Kira to get the 3 into the base. Johnny on 18. Put the L3 out with the shield on it. The entrenched Lama Su with an OB does change things a bit, because that's now going to be 8 damage spread around. Could remove the Kira. The problem is Phil's still got all his resources up in a... So okay, so Johnny plays the Sentinel out instead, so the 5/5 Sentinel. Now Phil did have a Waylay earlier. He's got a Kira in hand, I'm not sure. Yep, he does have the Waylay. See, I'm not sure if the play there might have been to send the Overwhelming Barrage in and clear the Kira for the next turn with the Vader ECL. Saying that Phil did have another Kira in his hand, so tough choices either way for Johnny in that regard. The L3 gets that 2 damage into Johnny's base, so 5 away from lethal now. Uses Lama Su to clear the Kira, but Phil quickly claims on that one. Oh no, he plays the Kira. So Kira comes out, so really unfortunate for Johnny that Phil was holding on to another Kira. Checks the hand, see what's changed. He'll see the Vader's still there, he'll see that there's an OB now there as well. My guess is he'll still want that Vader to not come out. Johnny does have that other Sentinel, got 2 of those in hand now, but in this second game, Phil has not seen as much space as the first game. Obviously, he had to give up the Falcon early on on his claims, so Phil still has quite a big board. The entrenched Lama Su can get rid of the Kira, but if Phil's got a hot shot or something else in the row, is it a surprise shot? No. So he does kill the Kira. Phil quickly sends the 2 into the base. Assume Johnny's now going to want to ECL the Vader out. It's a tough call because both the units that are ready are kind of dealt with, so maybe Pershing into play here. With a fistful of cards, they're just trying to work through where the last 3 damage might come from Phil. I mean, I'd definitely be worried for another fast Falcon. Yep, so Johnny does use the Pershing draw to see what else he can come up with. Looks like he had the Clown Car Falcon. Thinking about using the hand just to doodle a 10. Yeah, so it brings up the Clown Car Falcon. So again, because it's a space unit, I mean, Johnny's got a couple of options. He can use it. He's got a craving power there. He's got the OB, and he has the Vader. The Vader almost seems like a bit of overkill. But given the L3's been doing so much work, and putting that 2 damage into the base each turn, you may have to think about whether Vader is the play here. The OB will clear the Falcon, so will the Craven Power, but he doesn't have a ready unit, so it's kind of then not working his way for the buff that those 2 cards give him. So yeah, the little smuggled out L3 unit with a shield doing a bunch of work. So the ECL Vader does come out. He does murder the Falcon and the Han. Phil trying to steal his condemn. Phil plays out the blue ace. So again, Johnny's going to have a space problem. So he's going to claim. Yep. That little L3 with the shield. In the blue ace showing lethal here, so Johnny is going to have to think about either the OB or the craving power. Just getting the upgrades in his discard pile as well. Phil's base only having 4 damage on it, so it's looking pretty rough for Johnny in this second game. So many cards in his hand to choose from, just not quite enough to kind of get out of the trouble that he's in at the moment, I think. So it looks like he's paying 5 for something. Also played the OB off screen, I think. Yep, they did, sorry. So yeah, OB'd the Vader, I think. So putting the 2 into the Vader and popping a shield. And then 7 going into the base for Phil. So that was it, the OB Vader. Ooh, and the big Han. Like that. That's gonna murder Lama Su. Now Johnny's going to have to think through options for how to deal with that. So he's claimed now he's still got a pump. Didn't look like it was a hot shot in his row. So Johnny doing a pretty good job of slowing this down, but this feels like Phil's just 1 card away from pulling the right card out to kind of solve the 3 damage problem. So Johnny's going to play out the Sentinel, so with the ground units in play, Phil's going to use the Han to murder that. He does have another one, and he's going to bring that one out. So Now Phil looking at what options in his hands he's got. I think it's a shuttle. So you can't capture the Sentinel. Is the other card of Faith in Your Friends? Yeah, it looks like a Faith in Your Friends, so Phil's got a hand that's not ideal, so he's going to send a resource down. Just to see if Johnny's got anything else. He sends the 5 into base. He's gone up to 16, which is a long way from where Phil was before at like 4 damage. Phil smuggling out the tech now. What's he smuggled out there? The glare. Oh, they must have removed the. Oh, he confiscated the entrench, so Phil got there, so that upgrade hate finally found it, and the hauler was enough to get in there. So that's our coverage from the HOTH table. Like I said earlier, we'd really appreciate any likes, subscribe, comments on our coverage and videos. We'll keep on plugging away down here in New Zealand with SWU coverage and content. But yeah, that was a great win for Phil. Did take him probably a bit longer than he would have liked to get there at the end, but Johnny did have some interesting tech in there to kind of slow him down a bit. But yeah, that's kind of spells the end for the Lama Su run here at the Wellington PQ in New Zealand. And Phil will be off to the final, so you can go across to our stream coverage video to have a look at the final that Phil will play out. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.